Hello and welcome to Starbound's second channel. My name is Gabriel the Bibi Capaldi and I'll be your narrator today. But before we get into today's story, please do check down below that you are subscribed to the channel. It's 100% free and helps us pop up on your feed a bit more often. Lohadar watched the unenhanced human from his perch and sneered. Imagine having to rely on evolution instead of engineering. Pathetic. The cacophony of Nexus 2 stations' grand market swirled around him. 1,000 alien languages mixing with the clank of metal limbs and the steady noise of transport bots. Lohadar stood motionless amongst the chaos, his ashen-grey skin reflecting the harsh artificial lighting like burnished aluminium. His body was a perfect example of Loraxian cybernetic superiority. Spindly limbs, elongated to nearly twice their natural length, reinforced with exoskeletal components that glinted silver at each joint. Where organic tendons once connected, hydraulic pistons now whirred silently. His chest cavity, visible through a transparent polymer panel, revealed a network of cooling systems surrounding his partially preserved organic heart. His face retained the basic structure of his species, wide-set eyes and a narrow, lipless mouth, but now augmented eye sockets housed multi-spectrum optical units that glowed a faint blue, constantly scanning and analyzing everything in view. The market sprawled beneath him like a technological anthill, its multi-tiered layout teeming with beings from across the galaxy. Virtual ads popped in and out of existence, visible only to those with augmented vision like his own. They hawked everything, from neural accelerators to synthetic organs, each one eerily tailored to his browsing history, one of the many perks, or annoyances, of his premium ocular package. Lohadar's enhanced eyes zoomed in on the potential mark, data streams flooding his vision. Risk assessment, 76%. Potential value, too low. Cybernetic defense capability, not worth the trouble. He blinked the target away and kept searching. A quick buzz against his artificial spine alerted him to another message from his creditors. He didn't bother reading it. The increasing frequency told him everything he needed to know. The debt crushed down on him. Top-tier cybernetics like his weren't cheap, and the interest was piling up faster than scrap in a salvage yard. His latest spine enhancement alone cost him 5 years of hauling jobs. But the tactical edge it gave him was supposed to make that worth every credit. They'd been patient, by loan shark standards. Now that patience was wearing thin. Movement near the lower docking bays caught his eye. His optical implants automatically zeroed in, breaking down the newcomer with cold calculations. Human male, around 1.85 meters tall, weighing roughly 82 kilograms. The subject was unloading cargo from a beaten-up Firefly-class vessel that looked like it belonged in a museum. What made this human stand out wasn't his ship or cargo, but what Lohadar's scans turned up, or rather, didn't turn up. No cybernetic signatures whatsoever. No brain implants, no artificial limbs or organs, not even basic under-skin communicators or sensory boosters. Lohadar ran a quick check on his scanning systems. Sure, there must be some glitch. In this corner of space, even the most backwater species juiced themselves with at least basic tech. The complete absence of enhancements wasn't just unusual, it was practically unheard of. The diagnostic confirmed what seemed impossible. The human was completely organic, just meat and bones. Lohadar shot out a tiny reconnaissance drone from his shoulder compartment, directing it to get a better look at the human's ship. The drone, smaller than his fingertip, zipped away without a sound, feeding data straight into his brain interface. The ship was as underwhelming as it first looked. An older Firefly-class transport with lots of aftermarket patches and jerry-rigged systems. Those were the first human spaceships to be produced in large scale. The ship itself didn't seem worth the trouble. What the drone did spot, however, were multiple crates stamped with Earth Customs seals. Earth goods fetched top dollar in this sector, especially organic stuff that couldn't be properly synthesized. Best of all, the humans seemed to be flying solo. No crew showed up on thermal scans, and the ship's energy readings suggested minimal life support, just enough for one person. Lohadar's brain implant calculated a 92% success probability for a simple heist. The numbers floated through his mind in glowing blue text, alongside tactical overlays and suggested approach angles. With his recent cybernetic upgrades, taking down an unenhanced human would be like stealing from a sleeping Glorbax. The boosted strength in his artificial limbs alone gave him about 3.7 times the physical power of a normal member of his species. The combat programs wired into his neural processors could anticipate and counter thousands of attack patterns. His sensory enhancements could pick up the slightest shift in temperature, air pressure, or chemical makeup that might signal trouble. Against an unenhanced human, the fight was already over before it began. With this score, Lohadar could finally make a decent dent in his enhancements debt. He might even afford that neural accelerator he'd been eyeing, that one promising to speed up his thinking by 40%. In his line of work, faster thoughts often meant the difference between payday and a painful end. He brought the human back into focus. The man moved easily as he secured his cargo, broad-shouldered and fit, but nothing that screamed exceptional physical ability. His clothes were simple: worn cargo pants, a faded jacket, sturdy boots, with none of the telltale bulges or seams that might hide weapons or defense systems. The human stopped working for a moment, wiping sweat from his forehead with his hand, the kind of inefficiency that anyone with basic temperature regulation implants would never deal with. Then, he did something weird. He smiled and waved at a passing maintenance drone, like the utilitarian machine was a person worth acknowledging. Strange behavior. Maybe some Earth custom. Lohadar filed it away, not sure if it mattered to the job at hand. The latest message from his creditors forced itself open in his visual field. Impossible to dismiss, thanks to the priority override they'd somehow slipped into his firmware. Final notice. Payment of 40,000 credits required within 72 standard hours. Failure to comply will result in repossession of enhanced components. Surgical extraction will proceed regardless of survivability concerns. This is your last warning. The message came with a picture of their surgical facility, a scare tactic that worked all too well. Lohadar had heard about debtors found without limbs in back alleys, their expensive enhancements harvested and their organic parts left to die slowly. The creditors weren't kidding around. His mind was made up. This human and his valuable Earth cargo were his best shot at avoiding that fate. The job would need careful planning and proper surveillance. Rushing in would be stupid, despite how vulnerable the human seemed. Lohadar tapped into the station's public record through his neural interface, digging for info on the ship and its owner. The vessel was registered to a Noah Theodore, Earth-born with a trading license covering most of the sector. The ship's manifest listed agricultural samples and mechanical components. As cargo, suspiciously vague wording that usually meant something more valuable was hiding inside. The human, Noah, finished securing his cargo and closed up the ship's loading ramp. He stretched his arms overhead, another pointless biological movement that no enhanced being would ever need to do. Then he headed towards the market, probably to arrange sales or pick up supplies. Lohadar pulled back his reconnaissance drone and moved to follow, keeping his distance. His enhanced limbs carried him quietly through the crowd, adaptive camouflage in his skin subtly changing his appearance to blend with whatever species was most common around him. It wasn't truly invisibility, but in the diverse chaos of the grand market, it made him just another face in the crowd. As he tracked the human through the busy marketplace, Lohadar's tactical systems constantly updated his plan. The crowded market wouldn't be a good place for a grab. Too many eyes, too many witnesses, too many security drones watching from above. The ship would be the perfect spot. Contained, isolated, and filled with valuable cargo. Noah moved through the market with surprising ease for someone without nav implants or translator modules. He stopped at various stalls, chatting with vendors in what looked like casual conversation, sometimes using hand gestures when language became an issue. Several times, Lohadar saw the human getting better deals or special treatment after these interactions, things that normally required specialized persuasion AI implants or pheromone enhancers. How was this unaugmented human doing so much with nothing but his natural-born abilities? The question nagged at Lohadar, a puzzle his systems couldn't quite figure out. No matter. Soon enough, the human would head back to his ship, presumably to sleep like his inefficient biology required. Then, Lohadar would make his move, grab the valuable cargo, and finally free himself from the crushing debt that threatened to literally tear him apart. His visual overlay highlighted the human's vital signs. Steady heartbeat, normal body temperature, regular breathing, nothing to suggest he knew he was being watched or had any unusual capabilities. Just a regular human, far from home, and soon to be relieved of his valuable cargo. Lohadar's cybernetic fingers stiffened in anticipation, hydraulics whispering beneath artificial skin. It seemed the job would be quick, clean, and profitable. After all, what chance did mere flesh and bone stand against the pinnacle of Loraxian's cybernetic enhancement? Lohadar maintained his surveillance through the night cycle, his cybernetic systems requiring no rest. While the station's artificial lighting dimmed to simulate evening, he tracked Noah's return to the Firefly-class vessel, mapping the human's movements with meticulous attention to detail. But Lohadar couldn't afford pride or suspicion, not with his creditor's deadline looming. A full day passed as Lohadar continued his observation from the shadows of Docking Bay 2. The dim lighting created long shadows between ships, perfect for surveillance. The constant rumbles of the station's massive engines masked any sounds Lohadar might make. Security here was a joke, just a few malfunctioning cameras and occasional bored patrols.
A full day without sleep,
Lohadar mused to himself, the thought translating instantly into text across his visual field. His own species required rest cycles similar to humans, but his cybernetic enhancements had eliminated that weakness. A subroutine in his neural processor monitored his remaining organic components, injecting stimulants when necessary to maintain optimal function. Noah finished unloading his cargo and engaged in conversation with a dock worker, a 6-armed Vexillian whose own cybernetic enhancements were obvious from the mismatched coloration of its artificial limbs. The human somehow managed to charm his way past what should have been a routine customs inspection with nothing more than casual conversation and friendly gestures. No sign of persuasion AI implants common among traders, yet the results were the same.
Curious,
Lohadar murmured, his vocal modulator keeping the sound contained within his throat. Most curious indeed. Perhaps there was more to this human than his scans revealed. As the station's day cycle gradually gave way to another night, Lohadar meticulously mapped the ship's exterior, identifying structural weaknesses and calculating optimal intrusion points. According to his analysis of human biological rhythms, Noah should require a significant sleep cycle soon. His scans had detected increasing levels of adenosine in the human's bloodstream, a clear indicator of impending fatigue in organic beings. The outer hull near the cargo bay would provide the easiest access. A section on the port side of the vessel showed signs of previous repair work. The metal alloy was slightly different from the surrounding plating. Lohadar marked it in his tactical overlay, calculating it would take approximately 27.8 seconds to cut through this with his integrated plasma cutter without triggering any potential alarms. By the second day's end, Noah finally returned to his ship for more than just loading and unloading. The human had been awake for nearly 20 hours straight. Impressive for an unenhanced organic, but still well within normal human parameters. Lohadar's research indicating that human would soon enter a deep sleep cycle, creating the perfect window for infiltration. He set his chronometer for 0200 hours, when the station's activity would be at its lowest and the human should be in the deepest phase of sleep. The timing had to be perfect. Too early and the human might still be awake. Too late, and the increasing activity in the docking bay as the morning cycle began would complicate his escape. Lohadar retreated to a maintenance shaft he converted into a temporary base, settling into a corner where his adaptive camouflage rendered him nearly invisible against the metallic walls. He would wait here until the appointed time, running system diagnostics to ensure peak performance for the operation. As he waited, Lohadar found his thoughts returning to the human. Noah's capabilities seemed to defy explanation. He repaired complex ship systems with apparent ease, working efficiently without specialized neural interfaces that Lohadar's species considered essential for such tasks. The mystery made the target even more enticing. Was the human hiding something? Perhaps advanced technology that appeared biological? If Lohadar succeeded in this heist, the credits from the Earth cargo would solve his immediate financial problems. But the insights he might gain about human biology could potentially be even more valuable in this enhancement-obsessed sector. His internal chronometer ticked steadily toward the appointed time, and when the right time came, Lohadar received another message from his creditors, this one containing only an image of surgical tools laid out in neat rows. The implied threat was clear. Failure was not an option. With silent accuracy, he emerged from the maintenance shaft, his camouflage adjusting to the darkened environment of the docking bay. No movement detected. No security alerts registered. The human should be deep in his sleep cycle now. Lohadar approached the ventilation panel he'd identified earlier, his footsteps making no sound thanks to the impact-absorbing material in his cybernetic feet. His fingers extended specialized tools from their tips, another upgrade that had cost him dearly but eliminated the need to carry separate equipment. With great speed, he activated the plasma cutter built into his right forearm. The tool extended with a soft whir, its tips glowing red-white as it powered up. Lohadar adjusted the output to minimize noise while maintaining cutting efficiency. The specialized tool sliced through the hull material, creating a precise opening just large enough for his body to slip through. His enhanced limbs distributed his weight perfectly as he carefully extracted the cut section, preventing it from falling inward and creating noise. The built-in magnetic clamps in his fingers secured the metal disc as he set it aside. Heart dispersal systems in his palm cooled the molten edges of the cut, preventing any alarm-triggering smoke. Lohadar slipped through the hole, his cybernetic body folding with great ability as he entered Noah's ship. The interior surprised him. Warm air carrying scents of cooking spices and engine oil, exposed pipes running along mismatched metal walls, and impractical luxuries like paper books and live plants. It was chaotic compared to the clinical efficiency he was accustomed to. He moved silently down the corridor, his enhanced vision mapping the layout against the Firefly schematics he downloaded. The ship's engine noise provided perfect cover for his movements as he made his way toward the cargo bay. The doors slid open at his approach, revealing rows of crates smaller than he'd anticipated. With efficient movements, he began scanning the containers, his anticipation quickly turning to disappointment. The first held only soil samples, the second contained plant seeds, a third housed mechanical parts, outdated components that appeared to be replacement pieces for the ship itself. Where was the valuable contraband? This forced a rapid recalculation of his plan. Perhaps the real treasures were hidden elsewhere, in the bridge or the humans' quarters. His thermal sensors suddenly registered movement, a heat signature moving through the ship. According to his calculations, Noah should be in deep sleep for at least another 2 hours, yet the readings clearly say something was heading directly towards the cargo bay. Before Lohadar could select an optimal course of action, the cargo bay doors slid open again. Noah stood in the doorway wearing simple sleeping attire that revealed surprisingly muscular arms. No weapons were visible, and scans detected no hidden tech. Most disconcerting. The human didn't appear surprised. His vital signs showed elevated but steady heart rate, suggesting alertness but not fear. "I was wondering when you'd make your move," Noah said casually. "Been watching me for 2 days now. Not very subtle with those drones of yours." Lohadar's fight-or-flight systems activated automatically, flooding his biological components with chemical enhancers. His cybernetic limbs shifted into combat stance without conscious command.
Your cargo is significantly less valuable than anticipated,
Lohadar stated, his mechanical voice flat. Noah laughed, an unexpected response. "Not everything valuable comes with a high credit tag. Those seeds will feed colonies on 3 different worlds. That soil contains microbes that can restore dead farmland."
You detected my surveillance. How? You have no enhancement signatures.
"Don't need implants to spot a lurker," Noah replied with a shrug. "Your camouflage is impressive, but you move too methodically. Natural beings have irregularities in their movements. Yours are too perfect." This assessment was disturbing. Lohadar had spent a fortune on his movement suit, specifically to avoid such detection. "You have 2 choices," Noah said, stepping into the cargo bay. Leave my ship now, or we will have ourselves a problem. Lohadar's threat assessment updated, the success probability dropping to 74%. The human's confidence suggested hidden capabilities not accounted for in his initial calculations.
I cannot leave,
Lohadar replied, his artificial hands flexing as weapon systems warmed beneath synthetic skin. He thought,
my creditors wouldn't forgive me.
Noah sighed and pressed a button on the wall panel. Instantly, the ship's lighting shifted to deep crimson. Before Lohadar could adjust his optical settings, Noah had already closed half the distance between them with surprising speed. A critical warning flashed across Lohadar's vision. The human was moving faster than unenhanced biology should allow. Either his scans had missed concealed technology, or his understanding of human capabilities were dangerously flawed. As Noah closed in, Lohadar's combat enhancements activated at maximum capacity. Hydraulic muscles whined, tactical overlays calculated attack patterns, and cooling systems kicked into high gear. Every enhancement that had driven him into debt was now deploying simultaneously, their performance about to be tested against mere flesh and bone. The cargo bay was about to become a battleground, and despite all his calculations, Lohadar felt something his enhancements should have eliminated long ago. Fear. In that brief moment, time slowed for Lohadar as his combat processor kicked into overdrive, analyzing thousands of variables per second. The human was 3 steps away, then 2, then suddenly within striking range. Lohadar's right arm shot forward with mechanically perfect form, hydraulics whining as they delivered a blow that could punch through reinforced steel. Noah pivoted, the movement so fluid it almost seemed choreographed. Lohadar's fist missed by millimeters, the air displacement ruffling the human's hair. The momentum carried Lohadar forward, his balance systems already compensating, feet planted firmly on the metal deck. Nice arm, Noah commented, ducking beneath Lohadar's follow-up strike. Luraxian make? Top-shelf stuff. Lohadar didn't waste processing power on a response. His tactical overlay highlighted weak points on the human's form: eyes, throat, temples. He executed a precision strike sequence, his limbs moving faster than organic eyes were supposed to track, each bloke calculated to disable rather than kill. A damaged prize was better than none. The first punch grazed Noah's shoulder as he twisted away. The second connected with his ribs, a hit that should have cracked reinforced plating. Noah merely grunted, absorbing the impact, then countered with a rapid strike to Lohadar's elbow joint. Warning indicators flashed across Lohadar's vision. Somehow the human had located a microscopic maintenance port in his armor plating, a vulnerability that shouldn't have been detectable without scanning equipment. "You're overheating," Noah observed, circling to Lohadar's left. "Those cooling vents under your arms, they're working overtime." Lohadar's systems confirmed the human's assessment, which was impossible. How could he know the internal status of cybernetic components without diagnostic tools? The fight expanded across the cargo bay, both combatants using the stacked containers as cover and leverage. Lohadar vaulted atop a container, his enhanced legs propelling him 4 meters into the air. He descended towards Noah with the perfect trajectory for a disabling blow, the combined force of gravity and hydraulics behind his strike. Noah sidestepped at the last possible instant and swept Lohadar's legs upon landing. The move was so perfectly timed that it bypassed Lohadar's automatic stabilization system. He crashed into a cargo container, denting the metal. "Gravity compensations are half a second slow," Noah remarked, as if providing technical feedback. "You should get that calibrated." Rage, a primitive emotion Lohadar's mood regulators should have suppressed, surged through his organic components. He launched himself forward, activating his short-range propulsion system. The burst carried him across the cargo bay like a missile, his reinforced shoulder aimed directly at Noah's chest. Noah dropped flat to the deck. Lohadar sailed over him and collided with the bulkhead, the impact reverberating through the ship. Damage reports flooded his visual field, minor fractures in his exoskeletal frame, a 12% decrease in left arm mobility, cooling systems operating at 138% of recommended capacity. But Lohadar had anticipated the human's evasion. He rebounded from the wall with preternatural agility. His secondary targeting system already locked on Noah's position, his hand reconfigured, fingers retracting to reveal a neural disruptor, a weapon designed to overload any nervous system, organic or synthetic. The disruptor vibrated as it charged. Noah was rising from the deck, turning to face him, too slow to avoid the imminent attack. Lohadar fired. The invisible pulse struck Noah directly in the chest. The human flinched, muscles seizing momentarily, then shook it off like a mild electric shock. "That tickled," Noah said, rolling his eyes. "Neural disruptor, right? Works better on augmented systems than natural ones. Another design flaw." "Impossible. The disruptor was calibrated for organic nervous systems. It should have left Noah convulsing on the deck, not making casual observations about its effectiveness." Noah closed the distance before Lohadar could reconfigure another weapon. The human moved with fluid grace, landing 3 rapid strikes. One to Lohadar's right knee actuator, another to a cooling vent near his shoulder, and a third to his central processor housing. Critical warnings cascaded across Lohadar's visual field. Mobility in his right leg reduced by 60%, cooling efficiency dropped to dangerous levels, processor speed throttling to prevent thermal damage. "Your enhancements are impressive," Noah said, circling Lohadar like a predator. "But they're only as good as their integration with your organic systems, and right now, they're fighting each other." Lohadar's internal diagnostics confirmed this assessment. His organic components were flooding with stress hormones, interfering with the cybernetic regulatory systems. Heat was building up faster than his damaged cooling system could disperse it. Performance was degrading with each passing second. A desperate gambit formed in Lohadar's tactical processor. He initiated a controlled overcharge of his hydraulic systems, a dangerous move that could permanently damage his enhancements, but might provide the burst of strength needed to overpower the human. Warning notifications flashed, which he dismissed with a neural command. His right arm swelled slightly as pressure built in the hydraulic chambers. Then, with a mechanical roar, he lunged at Noah, his fist moving with enough force to shatter bone on impact. Noah didn't dodge this time. Instead, he stepped into the attack, turning his body to absorb the blow along his flank rather than taking it directly. His hand shot up, fingers wrapped around Lohadar's wrist with surprising strength, using the cybernetic arm's own momentum to pull Lohadar off balance. In the same fluid motion, Noah delivered a precisely targeted strike to a juncture point where Lohadar's organic shoulder met synthetic reinforcement. Pain. Actual pain, which his dampeners should have blocked, radiated through Lohadar's remaining nerve endings. System after system began to fail. The overcharge had pushed his hydraulics beyond safe limits. Hairline fractures spread through his exoskeletal frame. His processor struggled to maintain basic functions as thermal warnings reached critical levels. Yet, Noah appeared barely winded, his movements as smooth and controlled as when the fight began. He dodged Lohadar's increasingly uncoordinated attacks with almost casual ease, each counterstrike targeting another vulnerability in his cybernetic enhancements. "Your tech is fighting itself now," Noah observed, dancing away from a wild swing. "Organic system wants to survive, cybernetics pushing for performance at all cost. Bad integration design." Lohadar's visual feed glitched, fragments of code interrupting his perception. Though the digital static, he saw Noah approaching with slow steps. The human wasn't even in a combat stance anymore, the ultimate insult. With a final desperate effort, Lohadar diverted all remaining power to his right arm. Warnings about permanent system damage were ignored. His arm vibrated with destructive energy as he launched one last strike at the approaching human. Noah caught the fist in his open palm. The impact should have shattered every bone in the human's body. Instead, Noah's fingers closed around Lohadar's mechanical fist, somehow absorbing or redirecting the enormous force. For a moment, they stood locked together, advanced cybernetics straining against natural muscle and bone. Then, Noah twisted, applying leverage with perfect precision. Something snapped in Lohadar's wrist assembly. Error messages flooded his vision as connection to the limb was severed. I think we're done here, Noah said quietly. The last thing Lohadar saw before emergency shutdown protocols engaged was Noah's fist approaching his face with frightening speed. Then his world went black, as his consciousness fled into protected memory, his cybernetic body collapsing to the deck with a heavy metallic thud. In the final microseconds before complete system failure, one thought formed in Lohadar's organic brain. How could mere flesh and bone defeat the pinnacle of cybernetic enhancement? The smell of actual cooking food brought Lohadar back to consciousness. Not nutrient solution or synthetic protein, real food, with complex aromas his olfactory sensors struggled to categorize. His optics powered up slowly, recalibrating as his systems rebooted one by one. He found himself seated at a wooden table in what appeared to be the ship's galley. Actual wood, an extravagance almost unheard of in space travel. His arms were secured to the chair with simple mechanical restraints rather than energy fields, an insult, suggesting he wasn't dangerous enough to warrant high-tech confinement. Through a small viewport, the endless darkness of space stretched beyond, punctuated by the distant structures of Nexus 2 stations. The gentle vibrations of the ship's engines created a constant, almost comforting background sensation. They were still docked, but power signatures indicated the ship was preparing for departure. Noah stood at a small cooking unit, his back to Lohadar, apparently unconcerned about his captive regaining consciousness. Diagnostic alerts scrolled across Lohadar's visual field. Multiple critical failures in his cybernetic enhancements. His right arm was operating at 18% capacity. Cooling systems were barely functional. Neural response time had degraded by 64%. The damage was catastrophic. Repairs would cost more than he could hope to steal in a dozen successful heists. Systems almost finished rebooting, Noah said without turning around. Your power cells are holding steady, but that processor of yours took a beating. Might experience some lag for a while. Lohadar attempted to activate his emergency weapon systems, only to receive more error messages. Everything beyond basic motor functions had been disabled. Disconnected most of your combat hardware while you were out, Noah explained, finally turning towards him. He carried 2 bowls of steaming food, setting one on the table in front of Lohadar. Hope you don't mind. Seemed prudent. How? Lohadar managed through his vocal synthesizer, the single word laden with confusion and humiliation. Noah took a seat across from him, seemingly relaxed despite sharing a table with a cybernetically enhanced would-be thief. How did I beat you, or how did I know how to disable your systems? Both. Noah took a bite of his food before answering. I grew up on Earth. Gravity nearly 3 times stronger than standard station gravity. Air thicker, richer in oxygen. Weather systems that could kill you in minutes if you weren't prepared. Predators that evolved alongside us, forcing us to develop speed, strength, endurance. He tapped his temple. And these sensors, vision that can detect the slightest movement, hearing that can pick up a whisper across a crowded room, reflexes honed by millions of years of evolution. He gestured at Lohadar's damaged cybernetic frame. Everything you paid fortunes to install artificially, we developed naturally. Your reinforced skeleton, mine grew in higher gravity. Your enhanced reflexes, I developed mine dodging predators and competitors. Your adaptive healing, my cells have been doing that since before my species had conscious thoughts. The revelation hit Lohadar like a physical blow. His entire life had been dedicated to acquiring and maintaining technology that merely mimicked capabilities humans possessed naturally. The humiliation was profound, but so was the fascination. As for your systems, Noah continued, I was a mechanic before I was a trader, specialized in neural interfaces. The principles are the same across most species, just different implementation details. My creditors, Lohadar said, his artificial voice uncharacteristically quiet. They will not be understanding of my failure. Noah nodded, unsurprised. Figured as much. Those types rarely are. He studied Lohadar for a moment. I came to this station looking for a crew, not cargo. Need someone who understands tech better than I do. You're offering me employment? Lohadar couldn't keep the incredulity from his voice modulator. After attempting to rob him, after their violent confrontation, the human was extending kindness. The concept was so foreign to Lohadar's experience that his processors struggled to categorize it. 1 year of service in exchange for proper repairs to your damaged systems. Noah leaned back in his chair. You'll have quarters, meals, and my protection from whoever's after you.
Why?
Lohadar asked, genuinely confused.
I attempted to steal from you. By all rights, you should turn me over to the station security.
Noah's expression softened slightly. I took the liberty to check your private messages. I believe everyone deserves a second chance. Besides, he added with a small smile, finding someone who understands advanced cybernetics is hard out here. Knowing your type, I assume you tried to rob me because you were desperate or because you wanted the next upgrade. Not because you're evil. I've been desperate before too, you know? He gestured around the ship. This old girl was my second chance once. Seems only fair to pass that on. The offer represented both salvation from his creditors and an opportunity to learn from the very being who had shattered his worldview. But acceptance meant abandoning his previous life, and admitting to the inadequacy of the enhancements he'd sacrificed everything to obtain. Through the viewport, Lohadar could see a group of suspicious-looking individuals entering the docking bay, representatives from his creditors, no doubt, coming to collect either payment or parts. His time had run out. I will give you one chance to not screw this up. Do we have an agreement? Noah asked, glancing towards the viewport. Lohadar's remaining organic eye met Noah's gaze, seeing neither triumph nor pity, only the steady patience of a natural predator.
Yes,
Lohadar replied, making the first decision in years not assisted by his enhancement algorithms. Perhaps there was something to be learned from these humans after all. These strangely kind beings who upgraded naturally.